Welcome, friends, to Tanked Up, the podcast all about craft beers and video games. I'm one of your hosts, Ben. It's episode 286, and I'm here with Lucy.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi.
And Aadil. Hey.
Hey.
I assume you're both good?
Yeah, pretty good.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've
you?
had more time off than I normally do. As an unemployed person, I feel like the past 3 months have basically been time off, but not time off in the unemployed sense.
Okay. Yes.
Because I went away to Cornwall for the weekend and then stayed in Plymouth last week, which is why there was a much more coherent episode last week.
But we're not about coherency. It's fine. We're all about drinking and getting crunk. You know, doing the old Twitch dance and stuff. Let's jump into this episode and drink some beers. This week, we're sponsored, essentially, by a brewery. Lucy, you and I mentioned last week that we had some beers from Haacht. And I can't remember how we said it, but when I went and visited Aadil last night, he very well told me how it was pronounced.
It's Haacht.
Haacht.
Yeah.
Haacht.
Haacht. Anyway.
It sounds like I've got something in my throat and need to spit it out.
Very good.
The way I'm saying it.
I mean, that is a lot of Dutch pronunciation for an English-speaking person.
But you've been to Dutchland and just offending them. Just offending them immediately.
Thanks for sponsoring us.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for sending these beers over. We're going to get into them. They kindly sent us over 4 different beers, so we're going to go through all 4 of them this evening. And I believe both of you had the box with the little a bit of paper in. And I can't remember exactly what their tagline is, but it's something like the best Belgian brewery you've never heard of. Because I don't think they've ever had beers over here. I think this is
I don't believe so.
Part of the push.
First I've heard of them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, technically, they say the biggest Belgian brewery you've never heard of.
Ah, okay.
Oh yes, autofocus, kill me. That's
just not going to work at all, is it?
No, and I've thrown the card out. Now I can't even read the flavor
Now you need
text.
the flavour text. Let's open some beers.
Yeah, because when I follow their Instagram and stuff like that, I was like, oh my god, this is like a huge brewery. I was like, wow. I've never heard of these guys, but and I was just made me even more excited to taste the beers. It's like these guys have been around for a long time. They're big outfit.
Yep.
And some of these styles we don't usually have. We don't see enough of over here. And I was just like, I was like, blonde and brown. Sorry, spoilers, but I was just like, yeah, I need some of this. I don't get enough of these styles.
Why don't you
from Belgium as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Why don't you then, Lucy, let us know what you are drinking first?
Yeah, I am going to be drinking. Me and Aadil, you're drinking this as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Flandrien Super 8. It's 6.4%. You see, okay, it's bottled in the brewery. Good job, it's in a language also that I can understand. Have you got the piece of paper, Adil? Have you got any?
I do, yeah. Do you want me to? Yeah, so Super 8, we're Super 8 Flandrien. It's a spicy team leader, 6.4%. Its appearance should be a blonde beer with proper Belgian head. The bouquet is hints of vanilla and wood, and the flavor is full of character and flavored with hops, coriander, oak, and vanilla. Easy to drink for the go-getters. Which are us. We are the go-getters, Lucy.
Shit.
Unlike Ben.
Yeah, and it's in English as well. I was there reading the I was just like, it's in English right afterwards.
Amazing.
Does it give you all that flavour text on the bottle as well?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the back, yeah.
Nice, good. Were you guys get those open. I'm just
nice to mention that they all got different caps, so they will be going into my cap collection, which it's slow going these days with all the cans. So yeah, these will be nice.
Good. I'm also going to drink a Super 8 beer, but I'm going to have the IPA. It's 6%. The little bit of flavour text on the back says a balanced interpretation of the hoppy beer type IPA. Typical level of bitterness, but with additional citrus and grapefruit notes. It doesn't give me sort of much more than that. It does give you a little bit like it should drink at 8 degrees centigrade. It's got 38 EBUs, 25 EBC, and it gives me the energy, I think, as well, per 100 mil. 207 kilojoules. I don't know what's kJ. Kilojoules?
Kilojoules.
Yeah. I don't know what this is, though. I don't know if you can just see if whether thingy. I might not focus quite enough, but there's this little symbol. It just says "other" on it, and it just looks like
recycling symbol.
Is that recycling?
It's a recycling symbol. Right, perfect. Yeah. Good.
My glasses, I can see that.
Obviously, it's from Brewery Haacht Brasserie. Brewery Haacht Brasserie. Does it say on there whether it's vegan or anything like that? No, not that I can see, at least. Don't drive when you're drinking it. Don't be pregnant when you're drinking it either. Standard kind of stuff, too, on those. I will crack this and come back to both of you. Lucy, you've already poured.
Yes, because I wanted to say, Ben, hurry up, because this smells divine.
Well, go for it. Go. You've got all the time now to take it in.
Thank you. Just like those spicy, like clovey, bit of clove, bit of banana, that estery kind of smell that you get from it smells divine. I don't know if it's because I haven't had a blonde beer or beer like this in a long time. It smells really good, but yeah, it's good. I mean, it's clear. It's very much blonde. Poured a nice probably about a 1 finger head. It's slowly dissipated. It's just very small now, probably like half a finger. But yeah, that smell. Ooh. Lovely. Have you tasted it yet, Aadil? Or?
No, I was also admiring the smell. I do get that same banana. I'm getting a bit of the vanilla, I think they mentioned.
Okay.
Off the aroma as well. But curiously, not as much wood as I would have thought from the description. I'm getting a lot more of the banana, and like you said, a little bit of that slight spice in there as well.
And I mean, all that spice carries through in the flavour. God, that's a good beer.
That is one of the most refreshing beers I've had in a long time. Just one sip, and it's got just enough carbonation to open up on the tongue.
Yeah, it's
not
like
that.
It's like really thin, but not in a bad way. It's like it's not heavy. It's I don't want to say watery because that has a negative connotation, but it is. You can tell that the water quality is really good in this because it is just so smooth and what's the word I'm trying to get? But basically, it tastes good. But
I think
it's very crisp, as you're saying. It's very refreshing in that sense. As you say, just it's not much carbonation. There's a few bubbles rising from the bottom, but it's not a lot of carbonation. But you're still getting like kind of crisp taste. I don't know if it's because it's like slightly dry on the end, and the taste finishes quite quickly with a, like kind of a creamy malty almost kind of finish as well.
Yeah, I was going to say it dries the mouth out just a little, making you want to grab another taste. But because it's so tasty, I don't begrudge it that like I do some beers, which dry you out. It doesn't dry you out. It just like Lucy said, just leaves you a bit dry, wanting for more. I'm getting that vanilla
I'm not getting much of that vanilla. I don't know if that's the kind of like creaminess that I'm tasting at the end.
I think that's what I think that is. The vanilla's coming out in the finish. I'm also getting coriander.
I thought that might be like the malt, like the malt bringing me that kind of flavour at the finish. But yeah, perhaps it is a vanilla. But yeah.
And I might just be saying that because it is a bit woody and a bit sweet in that finish, and that's very close to the main notes of vanilla. There's some other spice going on there, but again, it's really just crisp is exactly, I think, when Lucy mentioned that, my brain was like, aha, this is the word I was looking for. It's crisp, but it's not really forward. Okay. It's quite, it's crisp without being super strong. So again, if you can see, the head is almost all gone. That's the low carbonation, but it still feels like a vibrant, crisp beer, even because of the tastes, because of the tasting notes, the balance of sort of the short taste window of where the flavor is full on before it fades away. All of that just makes it like a nice light jab to the face.
Yeah.
That was nice. I agree. Versus a super IPA that punches you in the face, right? It's just it's really delicate, and yet everything there is pronounced.
Absolutely, like that delicacy and kind of reservedness, where it's yes, it's not overly crisp, but it's not overly hoppy, it's not overly carbonated, but you're still getting that really crisp, refreshing sensation. And yeah, I really like that. Good. I mean, it's almost all gone.
I was going to say, this beer's not going to last.
I bet. Talking of super IPAs, then I better crack into mine. I guess. It's the Super
it's much darker.
IPA. It's a lot darker. I'd be interesting to know what Super 8 means. Why we've two of the beers are from a range, maybe Super 8. But this IPA, it's got a lovely nose, lots of grapefruit, but this nice kind of malty note to the nose as well, like that punches through as well. Maybe a little bit kind of burnt toffee, something like that. Okay, it's much more of a trad English IPA. It's not like a crafty kind of IPA. That grapefruit flavour is there, but it's led much more by the malts, which again are coming through as a little bit of sort of a little bit toffee, slight tiny hint of sweetness, not swint of hintness. But yeah, it's kind of as you would sort of expect from a darker IPA. When you would think of something that's maybe a little bit more trad over here. Again, something that's probably bottled from a smaller brewery. It's not that kind of mass market. It's not like Speckled Hen or Spitfire or something like that. It's got a little bit more flavour to it than those kinds of things, and it feels, at least mouth quality wise, a little bit nicer as well. So
is it like classic West Coast, as in this is more bitter than
it does feel like it's edging that way. Yes, absolutely. It does have a bitterness to it, but it's not big. It's kind of a medium bitterness, I suppose. And it stems very much from that grapefruit as well. You're getting that grapefruit flavour, and that's the thing that is then leading into the bitterness.
Right.
But that slightly sweet malt flows through the entire flavour as well. So even though that bitterness kicks in, it still has that nice malty sweetness to it as well. And I say it's maybe not too sweet. It's sort of more burnt, kind of toffee sort of end.
Okay, so as you say, English, kind of like a Moorish, I'm trying to think of the style that probably best suits it, other than like an IPA.
Well, I mean, it is like an IPA. It's just like an IPA from 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But a slightly elevated version of that. It's not quite as down and dour and watery as the ones that were exactly as most people picture in their minds as a sort of an English IPA. If I
was wondering what kind of time period we in. Are we in the part where it's the West Coast IPA, very popular over in America, and then we started doing that again.
Yeah.
And it was like that. So we're in that kind of period, the doldrums after the style came back.
Yes,
okay.
and it's not quite West Coast IPA. It doesn't hit quite as big as that, but it does have those notes to it. It's just maybe a little bit more reserved. It probably sits in between that kind of, that kind of English IPA that you get in the supermarket and a West Coast IPA. It's kind of somewhere in the middle of that in terms of the sort of the level of flavour and the kind of how it's delivered, I suppose. Unlike yours, it has a touch of carbonation. There's not much to it at all, and it isn't. It's not like that crisp kind of beer. It's very much more of a sort of sit and be able to kind of sink 3-4 of these, sat at the bar for an evening sort of thing.
I mean, just the colour and the fact that you went in straight away saying it's the maltiness and then the bitterness that stands out before the fruit. I think you did briefly mention grapefruit at the start.
Yes,
but that very much is like, it's funny to say, the old version of the IPA, where it's like, it's not, hazy, it's not overly fruity and stuff like that. So it feels like a quote unquote traditional
it does.
IPA.
I think in terms of like a craft beer, I think the closest I could get would be like Elvis Juice from that shit fucking dickhead brewery. But it's kind of somewhere there. It's maybe not quite as big in the grapefruit flavour as that other beer is, but it's definitely close to that.
Interesting,
I would say. So yeah, it's absolutely one that if I walked into a pub and it was a bit more trad and it was on cask, I'm like, I'll drink this. Absolutely. And I'd be happy to. I drank a beer from Bewdley Brewery last weekend before maybe, which again is Worcestershire sort of way, deep in the country. It's where my mum's partner's from, so every time he goes to visit his mum, he drops into the brewery, he picks up a couple of cases of different beers, and he brought a couple in for me on his way back down, and again, very trad but very drinkable, very nice, not too watery, has some flavour to it, and it's one of those where you can see that with this slightly more traditional style for English IPAs at least, that I think made, I don't know how, because Haacht is a big brewery from what we have now seen, but at least on this smaller scale, it's from like Bewdley and other smaller places, when it's not mass produced, it has a nice quality to it, even though it is an older style kind of beer, and this has that nice quality to it, and I have no idea on the scale that it's been kind of produced on, but irrelevant of that, it has that slightly better quality to it than, say, your standard kind of Wetherspoons beer.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Where you can, it's like it has elements of that kind of style, but you can tell the quality in it, because something where it's like, a Marston's beer versus something like, I can get this at Brummy Brewery, and it's not my kind of favourite beer, but it's like, it's on cask and you can taste that, okay, this has been done by the brewery themselves, and you can taste the quality difference. You can, even though you are getting like pulling elements from like big macro breweries who hit like IPA, they just use that as a almost like a shortcut. It's like, we'll just stick IPA on it, hope the beer nerds buy this, but it's like, you can it usually has this like, there's no hops in it, that it's very tinny, it's just malt and bitter forward, and it's like, It's sad that kind of style has been like, our like taste for it has almost been kind of like reduced and masked because we know so many big macro breweries do it, and it's like, I think people are turned off from that kind of old school IPA as a result, because it's like, am I getting that, the crappy version of the
very
good
much
version? Yeah, it's good to know that this is very much the good version of it.
Completely. And I think it's almost, again, when you get things like certain styles like amber ales or golds and things like that, it evokes those kind of bigger British or English kind of breweries who just pump these things out. Green King, absolutely. And I think there's definitely something to be said for going back to those older styles and taking a look at those. And I know
because
a few kind of craft breweries have started to delve into that a little bit more, haven't they? To go back to those kind of older styles that maybe they were drinking before they even became kind of breweries and things.
Yeah.
To just explore that, which is good.
I miss those styles. Like I miss like ruby ale. I mean, I'm so happy when I saw a blonde and a brown ale in this. So yeah.
Good. Right.
Get back to it. When's that coming back around? I'm sure we've done the NEPA like 17 times in the last 5 years.
Everyone's making a NEPA, mate. It's just the way it is.
Which I love as well.
Yes.
Probably my favourite style in the IPA range. You need an amber ale, man.
Yeah. Good. Let's drink these. We'll finish them in about 5 minutes' time.
I was going to say
5 seconds. 5 seconds. This is.
I had to start putting it like I pushed the coaster away so that I wouldn't just keep. Before I move on from beer, I just thought I would mention because I quickly went to their website, and so it turns out it looks like they have 4 lines. So they've got the Super 8, which has got like an export, the IPA, the Flandrien, and a Blanche.
Okay.
And then they've got the Charles Quint, which is much more. They got a ruby red, a golden blonde, and an Omahang, presumably, and they look quite old school. And then the Tongerlo. Oh, I should know how this is. And that's like Tongerlo, yeah. And that's got the brown that I think you guys are having next.
Yep.
A blonde, a triple, and a Christmas, which like this looks like the much more like a regular Belgian brewery line. So I suspect.
We'll go back to them. Angle for an old Christmas episode.
We
can get the old Christmas beer. We do love a good sort of Belgian or European Christmas beer here.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's what I wanted to add because I did the research, beforehand.
Yeah, and their UK page followed me on Instagram. I think it was about a week ago. So I'm wondering if they do, if these are available in some retailers here.
Yeah, I think this is part of a UK push, I think.
Okay, well, you've sold me.
Done.
Just the smell of the blonde, I was like, okay. I'm in. Right.
That's it. We don't even need to drink second beers. We just go out and buy a load. It's fine. Cool. Let's move on. I hope both of you don't mind, but I thought I would kick us off. This week,
go for it.
Because I have been playing a game which I both enjoy but don't like at the same time.
Can we guess?
You could, absolutely. Go for it.
I want to go Sable.
Okay.
What's your guess, Aadil?
Oh, I want to say Lemsip Enterprises.
Oh, you might be right.
Yeah, it is Lemnisgate. I did finish Sable, and I had that feeling after finishing Sable that I had when I'd finished much bigger games like 2008 God of War and Red Dead Redemption 2, where I suddenly went, don't want to play anything now.
I was completely wrong then.
Sable some more. Yes.
Wow.
I will talk about Sable at some other point in the future, no doubt. Very, very much enjoyed that game. But I thought I would, and I had been, even when I was playing Sable, I had jumped into Lemnisgate to play. It is a shooter. It's a first-person shooter, but it puts much more emphasis into the strategy of games, because it's not just you versus a bunch of other people. It is you, and from the modes I've played, it's me versus one other people. There are 2 versus 2, right? But the thing about Lemnis Gate is that it's on a time loop. So you pick a character, and as with lots of these games now, there are certain loadouts, certain hero kind of characters that you can pick. You pick a character, you basically play 25 seconds, and that's all you get with that character. And then you get 5 of these during a round. So there's a few different game modes. There's ones where you've got to defend certain points, attack certain points, get things and bring it back to your base type thing. But you've got to try and strategize on the fly
against their strategies.
Against their other team. So it does it in 2 different ways. You can either take it in turns or play simultaneously. So you can have both characters, both players will pick whichever character they want, and that character will go off and try and do whatever they think the first move should kind of be. I might run to pick up one of these hovering balls to bring it back to my my spawn point to get a point, or I might go and shoot another sphere to try and kind of mark it for my team. And the other
capture
player,
the sphere, right?
Yeah,
by shooting.
Exactly. And the other player will do that as well. Your second person, you will be kind of still trying to do that, but also reacting to whatever the other player has done. So I had times where I'd gone off and I'd basically just run to the first point, shot the thing, but the other player had come in and shot me. Rather than them going off to claim a sphere, they just come in and killed me. And obviously what that does is, when the game loops for the second turn, those 2 characters just play out on the battlefield. So my second turn with another character, I could try and intercept first to kill that first character, so my character can continue doing what it was doing and still shooting the sphere. So it's got this really interesting kind of dynamic that you're constantly trying to strategize through, but in a very reactionary kind of way. So,
yeah, and there's like 9 different character types, which like have
seven,
9, 6, 7,
seven,
like
I think, yeah. And I mean, they're pretty standard. There's a sniper. There's just an assault rifle kind of person. There's lots of different kinds of.
I'm just bringing that up because that's part of the rock paper. There's a rock paper scissors as well as a So if you end up if they end up bringing a few guys to deal with your bit, then you can take your rocket launcher guy and hit them as they run out.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Sorry,
and I very much enjoy this aspect of it. I really like the play, and I've had some games where I've been pretty good, and I've managed to get the upper hand on someone. And I've had games where I've just been absolutely dominated, and I think it's really interesting that I'm then looking at how that other person has played, because you can see, whilst you're picking a character, you can see a replay of what the characters are doing constantly. So you will see that 25-second run from a little drone up in the sky, so you can see what's happening, and then you can think, right, well, if I pick this character and I get here first and I can snipe them, that will stop them from killing my character, which means that my character can just continue shooting the sphere, which means that I will get it. So there's tons of strategizing around this. And if you're maybe like a Call of Duty player who just
yeah, that's me then. And because I'm more of a Call of Duty player and just run into firefights and just run and gun, I'm far too stupid to understand whatever this game is.
It's a completely different mindset to be in. You have to think very, very differently. And absolutely, the reason why I lost my first game that I played was because I'm like, right, I'll just go over here and shoot this thing. And I got shot. I'm like, right, okay. My second character should probably go over and shoot the thing, because the first character's dead and I didn't get the thing.
Oh no!
But then
both of them got shot.
Both of them got shot because the other character kept shooting. So yeah, there's absolutely tons of strategy.
Are you playing multiplayer? I'm so confused. Are you playing multiplayer or single player?
So it's multiplayer. But it's like it's one on one. It's PvP one on one.
Right. Okay.
There are 2v2 modes, but I've turned all of those off, so I'm not going into any of those because it's just so much, and I think
I was just say that seems really complicated.
I want to play with someone else who I can sit on like Discord with or something and chat with, and you can strategize on the fly with them, and that kind of thing. Having an actual duo to go in with. So I have only been playing as just a 1 versus 1 kind of game. Right. There's lots of training stuff that you can play against the computer to familiarize yourself with these things and run through lots of training and game modes and things like that to understand it and then get to know the characters and what they do and their special abilities and all those kinds of things. And I found that when I've gone on and be like, I want to get the guy who's got the turret as his special ability, because I can get it up here and I can put the turret down and it will just mow people down as they come through this like doorway or something like that. That there's tons of reactionary situations where that just isn't gonna work, and I just don't play with that character, even though I like the turret, I like the gun that they use. I'm like, I just won't use them at all during this run, unless that's kind of called for suddenly, where they all rush through in one sort of place. So it's a game where I'm kind of playing 1 or 2 games in a session, and then being like, right, I'm fried now. I've got to get back to work. My brain has strategized and done this sort of stuff, and I like it and dislike it for that kind of thing. That it does feel quite taxing in what it's asking you to do. Yeah. But that's not the main reason I dislike the game.
Ooh, I wonder if that's why I dislike the game, because I've played a bit.
Okay. But before we get on to dislikes, why don't you give us your kind of impressions as well?
I have played much less than Ben. I've played through the training bits, and I've played a couple of games, just enough to basically know a bit more about this confusing game. So when Ben talks about it, I can be like, "Oh, it's this."
I'm completely lost. I understand now. It's what PvP and 1 versus 1.
Yeah, and I didn't. I've only played the fully asynchronous, so I go 25, they go 25.
Okay.
I go 25. Yeah. And I think I think I would like the we do a round together mode a bit more, because it's a strategy RPG where you have to do all the auto stuff yourself, basically, right? Like, it's very much the idea of, especially in the I take a turn, you take a turn mode. It's very much a like, you've moved this way, then I will do this. But now you've moved this, and of course there's a time loop. So then it's like, my guys are doing this, and now I have to think this other way. But I found it more clunky in the fully asynchronous mode because I felt really dumb when I missed a jump or something, because because I wasn't actually in the map with anyone. It felt like, why are you making this a first-person shooter? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But I do like the strategy potential of the game. I think you're right. Like, there's so much. It's like your Twitch brain turns on, and you're like, gaming, and then meanwhile your strategy brain's like, oh fuck, what? Oh no, I've done everything wrong.
Yep.
Like, even little things like remembering, actually, empty your clip kind of forward all the time, because that makes them potentially run a character into bullets or have to avoid a hallway that you're running by in 3 rounds.
Yes.
And like, that's good strategy, is to just waste bullets on your way, kind of, just in case, because it just makes the other person's life more miserable, because you're literally making a fog of confusion of now I don't want to do that because I'll get hit.
Yep.
And like this, but it's like, I don't even know, but you have to think of that on the spur of the moment, and probably think about whether it's likely that they're going to run through this hallway, and like, but kind of maybe just in case do it anyway. And it's like, my strategy brain is kicking off, but that means I'm not doing I'm not being very precise with my FPS movements. But also, so that's my general I like the idea. I think I'd like it more when I liked reacting in real time to someone, because it would feel more like I'm playing an FPS game. There's a reason here, so I'll have to try that mode. But flipping
I think it would also benefit if I think it would be a fun experience if, say, you and I played just one-on-one.
Yeah.
Not even playing together versus other people. Like if you and I just play one-on-one, we're just chatting over the top of it. We're just having it's like a game of chess, but basically in that sort of sense. So I think that would be very fun as well if you've got another person to play with to battle against each other a little bit,
but also talk strategy and stuff, because I think that's the thing is this feels parts of it remind me of playing like a new tabletop-y game, like a strategy board game or something, because you're like, oh, I didn't see that coming, and you kind of want to talk out the game with someone even if they beat you. So I think your mention of chess is very apt. I think that's exactly it. It's
well, that's what I was thinking, chess, but then you're in the battlefield being a pawn facing off a knight.
Yes.
Yeah. But sometimes the pawn can be put in the right place to just kill the knight and the bishop, because the pawn has a frag grenade.
Proximity mines. Yeah.
I was about to say, I'm sure there's no frags. Would be wrong.
Hyper war chess. They discarded that name for something that doesn't make any sense.
But what I don't like about the game, let's say if you agree, I just don't think the platforming is tight enough.
Okay. That wasn't my dislike, but I can see why that would be your dislike. Yes. It feels like it's followed a Overwatchy type play for its sort of platforming and the way it kind of deals with verticality and that kind of thing, rather than thinking about it, perhaps.
Well, yeah. So it's not even that. It's just even on one of the training grounds where you can just bounce around and practice. I found a lot of it was really hard to judge a distance, and it was really easy to jump and miss. And it's clearly. But taking 3 tries to do one of those things feels really weird when it's this seems like the only route. It seems like you're in my training grounds. There's a edge. This seems weird. And then similarly, little bounce things in front of a tall pillar, and then you can't quite get on top.
Sure.
And you're like, am I supposed to hit jump and or do I have to sprint into this thing?
No, you crouch.
You crouch on the jump
You
panel?
crouch on the jump pad, and I think it makes you go higher.
So that wasn't a thing that I got in my tutorial. But that's kind of my point. It feels, because of that, because of some of the jumps feeling like you should make it and just missing, but not really. Again, it's a FPS platforming. It's just I don't. But even after, I played an hour. I know it's not a lot, so I'm sure I'll get used to it. But it just feels very much like a figure it out. This isn't very, like I said, it's not very tight. It's not okay, it's not that much this much. And then one of the characters is a scouty one, and their superpowers, if you're in whatever direction you're going in, they'll burst forward.
Yes. Yep.
And that, when trying to figure out how to jump around platformers, that burst was really far. So it's oh, cool, now I thought, oh, I'll jump and then burst. So now instead of missing on this side of this pillar, I'm missing on that side of the pillar. And I'm this is frustrating. And I know some of that is just me getting used to the game, and also that FPS platforming has never been my forte. But I felt like it wasn't quite tight enough. The gunplay seems okay, again, because you're not focusing on that. I don't care if I can't super snipe a thing, right? There's not too much kickback on most of the guns, so you can kind of hit center mass of the giant thing you're supposed to fight, even while holding down fire, which is, I think, good, because it lets your brain do other things.
Absolutely,
if it was more, I think it's that probably purposefully feels, But so this is where the lack of tightness on the platforming kind of disappointed me, because it's I can see that you've thought about sort of not too tight gameplay or gunplay so that you don't, it's well balanced for the fact that you're trying to balance a bunch of other things strategically. And then it's like, but this is more clunky than the average game instead of less clunky. And so now I'm fighting with that instead of trying to also aim and shoot and preemptively throw a frag grenade there, because if they'll get hit this way, but the only other option is that way. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
I'd like to be able to do some of that multitask thinking, and that's just one of the barriers. Anyway, that was but again, I haven't played that much time into it, so now I'm really curious what your
well, as I've been sat here thinking, it's kind of two things. One, which isn't really an issue, is that the progress feels very slow. So there is a leveling up kind of thing, and you are ranked in this as well. And that feels very, very slow. Gaining experience to move you up to level 1 and so on is based on your score within the game, which I think is a bit of a flaw. For two reasons, one of which is the reason I dislike the game. But it just feels very slow, and there are things tied to this, so you can level up and get different skins for characters. But from where I've kind of explored this a little bit, it does appear that some guns have different stats, so you can then have a different gun for different... So, higher level people will have those different guns and loadouts and things like that, or just slightly different attributes for the same gun for each kind of character. But it then ranks you as well. So the bottom one is bronze rank 5, and I'm bronze rank 5. I've been bronze rank 5 since I started. I haven't progressed anywhere from bronze rank 5. It doesn't seem like I'm making any progress to reach bronze rank 4 or whatever the next one is. I played people who are higher ranks, but I've never seen any kind of progress towards that, and it just feels like that's a secondary kind of thought. But the reason I dislike it is because of the other people playing the game. And the way that it is...
you could just stop there. You hate other people.
But it's the way the game allows the other people to interact. So I played my first game against the person, and I was rubbish, because of course I was. It was my first game. The other person is
and you're bronze rank 5.
And I'm bronze rank 5. But I played someone who was bronze rank 5. At least it said they were bronze rank 5. And they dominated me. They obviously had a lot more experience in what they were doing. And all I got at the end was a little bit of chat from them saying, haha, you're a noob, you're shit. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I am. But this is a quick way to turn me off from ever playing this game again.
They genuinely said
actually got a message saying, you're a noob. Yes, I didn't even realise you could type during
I was just saying, I don't know what the point of a chat in this game is.
I don't think there is any point of chat in this game.
I mean, you could be that people, in an idyllic world, as you lot were saying, trade, techniques and tactics, and this is how I got you, this is how I knew what you did.
Potentially.
But doing that over text seems very likely.
Yeah. But is this a fault of the game, or just the fault of other people being absolutely
So
crappy?
I think it's a fault of other people, but also in the game as well, in that I've had a few games now where I have had, say, the upper hand after maybe three characters, so 3 25-second loops. I've kind of been dominating, and that person will just concede.
Ah, yes, the old drop.
And because of that, I then get like 4 experience points because I haven't played a full game. I've done, one objective, I've killed maybe one character or something like that, but I've obviously had the upper hand, and that person's gone, quit out of this one, they're going to win. And that again, the reason I don't like the experience system in this is that it's too tied into completing through, to getting through to the end. It's not like, here's 10 experience for finishing for completing a round,
or doing a play, or this was a good move. You killed this character.
Very much, yeah. It's just, here's 10 points for killing a character. Here's 10 points for doing an objective. There's nothing else or it seems there's nothing else kind of tied in there as well, and I think that needs to be different, because people
ranked,
want that progress. People want to see themselves getting, to level 1, not even fucking level 1, because I get so many games where people just drop out. So I'm like, right, I've got 30 minutes. I'll jump in. And one of the things I absolutely like is you progress. Like if you get to the end of a game with someone, you don't drop out of that like lobby with that person. You can just progress to the next game mode and map with that person, and just keep playing them and keep playing them and keep playing them, which is good. That's a good, absolutely good thing to have in. That Aadil, you and I, we could play a game. We don't need to make a group again afterwards to play a game. We can just keep playing and keep playing and keep playing and keep playing, and that was great. And I chatted through Xbox Live with someone earlier about a few different things and stuff that I'd played, which was great. And I followed them on Xbox and all that sort of stuff because we had a good time playing a couple of games. So that is good, but there doesn't seem to be any negative connotations to be like, I concede, or or any bonus for the person who has stayed and who kind of won through that. So I think it just needs a lot of work on its progression system, basically. I think it's a solid game. But yeah.
So this is kind of hilarious because I'm going to laud the Magic the Gathering arena system in comparison, which normally I don't. But they purposely took chat. So on Magic MTG Online, the original client that's basically not doing anything different. It's you collect cards, you make almost every card in existence is on there, etc. It's supposed to be the analog of the tabletop game. They have chat, and there's a lot of toxic people. There were big toxic people problems. So in Arena, they took out chat, and then like during the beta, they put in like emotes, like "Hello, Yorgo, thinking, good game." But also, you can just click on someone's avatar, and it mutes them.
Oh, nice.
Because people started spamming Yorgo or good game right at the beginning, and to BM people, it's just like good game, Yorgo, just being a dick. So then they gave the functionality. Great. And given that, like you said, you're not even with the person you seem to have good games with, you weren't really chatting much with. It's like,
no.
What is the goal of the chat system, and how likely is it going to happen given gamers on the internet, not your ideal situation of an ideal game base. The other thing, though, is the way they do ranking is basically you start on bronze tier 3, and every game you win gets you 2 segments up, and it's like 5 segments a tier or something. I can't remember. And then it goes bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and until you hit platinum, diamond, and mythic. I think at gold at silver you start losing 1 but gaining 2, and then at gold it's gaining 1, losing 1 or something. You basically have to rank up enough to even be able to D-rank.
Yep.
On a loss, and you rank based on wins. And that's what I realized was so important, because I've had the shitty games where someone. Maybe they just... In Magic, there's a lot of RNG. So sometimes you draw no lands, you mulligan to 5, and there's still not a viable hand, so you just concede, right? You're like, there's no point in playing this out. I don't want to have to fight. I mean, I do, because I'm a glutton for punishment. but like...
Oh, boy.
When people concede, I get the win. It doesn't matter how I won. I won. I won a match in ranked play. I get the gain ranks in ranked play. That seems to be like a fundamental thing they've missed here, which is winning is the important thing in a game where you play against someone. And if you're going to rank it, you need to put most of your eggs in the winning basket.
Yeah.
Not to say you can't and especially if you're not going to be able to grind out. Like, the only reason you don't make wins important is because you want to make sure people don't get stuck who are bad, and give them a way to grind out other ways. But usually you do that by other things, and it's like, well, this is clearly not working if people are able to concede really early, and that has a detrimental effect.
Yeah, and I don't know whether the rank system is just a matchmaking system, because everyone I've played so far has been bronze rank something. We've all been in a very similar kind of bracket, and it's then
one can level up because everyone's dropping.
exactly. But then there's that separate level progression by getting the kind of the experience kind of through the game. So I can see why they've got sort of two systems in there, but they just seem to both need a little bit of work, unfortunately. I don't think this is a full release as well. It's not in kind of like beta or anything like that.
It's on Game Pass.
Yeah, and it's great because I haven't played the same person unless I've stayed within the lobby in the game with them, and it's never taken more than say 30 seconds to find a game either. So there's a reasonable amount of people playing it at least. To have a community kind of around it and that sort of thing, but it just seems a bit. You've got a good base game here.
Absolutely.
I just need a bit more. What's going to keep me coming back to this? And that is always going to be progression, right?
Right.
In these kinds of games. Why do people love prestige level 406 in Call of Duty? Because they get a little emblem that they can show everyone that they're prestige level 6 or whatever it is. It's always the way it's in our psyche that this progression is what it's kind of about.
Yes, because I'm trying to rank up in a game and I'm finding it difficult.
Is this something you're going to talk about this evening?
Not really, it's just GeoGuessr Battle Royale.
I had a feeling.
Which you're champion of now, aren't you? Didn't you message us the other day saying you were the world champion?
I have won a few matches. Thank you. But, I love how it's just you can just get in a game, and you say when you have half an hour free, I just need 5 minutes free, and it's just like there's a game. Yeah, always people playing. You don't have to talk to anybody.
And bonus.
I don't think you can talk to anybody. Yeah. It's just if you could. I'm doing the countries one where you have to guess which country you're in, and I'm getting pretty good at that in a scary way. Where it's like, I know Singapore just by looking where, just that's a screenshot. I know Singapore.
Just the shadows. You're like, yep, Singaporean shadow stuff. Cool.
Yeah, it's very good.
Good. Should we open some more beers? Should we open another beer?
Yeah. I'm gonna nip to the loo, so I'll let Aadil do the talking. No. You do the talking, Ben. Yes.
Cool. So yes, you and I, Lucy, are going to have the same beer, which is a brown.
Yeah.
Back in a second.
Is it Tongerlo?
Tongerlo, yeah.
A brown, it's 6.5%. The flavour text on the back: genuine Abbey beer, re-fermented in the bottle, with refined touches of vanilla. The aftertaste surprises with the subtle bitterness of dark chocolate. Yeah, sounds good. What else does it say? It doesn't quite have as much information on as the IPA does. It's got best befores and I guess bottled on dates. Yeah, bottle dates and things, but it doesn't tell me any other information. And interestingly, with the Flandrien beer on the label on the back, does that give you like the EBUs and those kinds of things, Aadil, or?
Sorry? No, it doesn't. The card doesn't have EBUs or anything.
Okay. Does the label on the back of the bottle?
On the Haacht or the Primus or
the Flandrien.
Flandrien. It did. Yeah. Sorry.
I wonder if that's just a Super 8 thing then.
I think it must be because that's their more, I think, craft aimed line.
Because I mean, this one, at least the label for the Tongerlo very much evokes a brown Belgian beer, doesn't it? Like, it's very kind of standard in its sort of design, whereas I suppose the Super 8 is maybe a more modern set of beers, perhaps. So giving a little bit more kind of information. But yeah, Lucy, you and I are both going to drink the Tongerlo.
Yes.
Open it now, and I don't know. You flashed up the beer that you're drinking.
Yes, it's the Haacht Primus. It's their Belgian premium lager. Haacht Brewery named its premium lager beer after Jan Primus, who also called John the Victorious. He was Duke of Brabant in the 13th century and a true beer lover. The brewery is located in today's Belgian province of Brabant. And it doesn't have the tasting notes on the bottle, but it does on my handy card.
Nice.
Ooh, that pour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the greatest of pours from me.
Nor me.
The Primus is headstrong by nature, clear, light blonde in color with a fine head, bouquets delicate hoppy aromas, and the flavor is it starts off slightly with a sweet touch of bitterness, then comes the dry and thirst-slaking aftertaste. Sounds like my kind of lager.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. Yeah, this beer smells similar to the blonde.
Yeah.
Little less, I think a bit more malty in aroma.
Definitely getting the vanilla on the nose.
You're still getting, like, you know, some dark malty smells.
Yes. Yeah.
You
were away while I read the flavour text, but yeah, it does say touches of vanilla and then a subtle bitterness of dark chocolate.
Yeah.
Which does very much come through on the nose.
Absolutely. I'm going to have to top this up a bit before I can drink it.
I topped it up, but top it up slowly. Top it up slowly, because mine just went...
Oh, dear.
That is... I mean, that's...
Let me know.
It's all the bubbles. All the bubbles were in this beer. That's where they've been. I've got a nice brown ring on my my note paper now.
Nice.
I mean, we've got to be crude at some point. I'm interested that Primus is not anything to do with the band, and is a much more
Optimus.
Yes.
You got me.
It's almost got this, at least in the nose, it's got this kind of like, what's that kind of cola-y, sort of sweet sort of smell to it. Aspartame. It's got that kind of very light. No, but it's very light, but it's got a little bit of that to it. I mean, I don't know whether that's just because of, say, like the carbon dioxide in this. You know, the fact that it is like incredibly carbonated as well. That's kind of coming through a little bit. Because you can see now that that head has receded quite a lot. You know, it laces kind of to the glass quite nicely, but that head is, 5 mil now. So
yeah, it's got a nice colour to it as well. Like if you put it far away and not against any light, it looks like it's just thick and dark.
Yep.
But hold it up to the light, you got a little bit of light coming through. It looks almost reddish. But I've had a little bit of taste, even though our glasses would say, "Oh, that's a lot of carbonation." It is there's a bit more carbonation than the blonde ale, but it is still quite still. But yeah, this has got a little bit of crispness as well, but I think that's very much tapered off.
Yes.
By that like kind of creamy, dark chocolate kind of taste to it. It's I like this. I think I want it a bit deeper, a bit richer, a bit more earthy though, because I start drinking it. It tastes almost like not quite a milk stout because it's not as sweet, and it hasn't got like the lactose or anything. You can tell it doesn't, but it feels like, oh, I'm going into like a porter or a stout or something, and it's like it feels like I want a bit more richness and a bit more deepness, a bit more chocolate. But it's pared back. I think I just want a bit more grit, a bit more earthiness. What I like in like brown ales.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It definitely hangs on that vanilla flavour a little bit more,
so I can definitely pick it out in this one.
Yeah, with that carbonation as well, you could kind of. It almost evokes a end of the night like Sailor Jerry's and Diet Coke almost. You know, it's got that carbonation to it. That vanilla kicks in quite a lot. It's got a lot of that. You're getting a lot of that kind of gassy sort of feeling to it as well. But it's very easy.
Absolutely. It's very smooth.
It is very, very smooth. And I think because it isn't a big flavour, it is quite light. It's not watery, but it's a light, smooth brown ale. It doesn't really evoke a 6.5% either. It feels a lot lighter than this.
Like mid-4s almost.
Absolutely.
I think with the same with the blonde ale, I don't know if it was the spiciness and like sort of that coriander and it was almost like cardamom as well that I was tasting in that blonde ale. I felt the alcohol a bit more, and that creeped in slowly. So I'm wondering if this will creep in slowly the more I drink it. But yeah, it's really nice. It's as you say, it's very smooth. It's very easy to drink. Like, pouring a beer like that, it's got so much head, and it's like it looks like it has so much carbonation. As you say, I'm getting a bit more gas from the very smooth blonde ale, but it's still very. I said still, and I mean that in like it's very smooth. It's very very easy. It's not overly gassy or anything like that, or overly carbonated. It's nice. I just think. At the moment, that blonde ale blew me away. This is not quite at that level, but it's still a very nice beer.
Yeah, and it's interesting to note you or the comment about the Flandrien, in that kind of the more you drank it, the more that kind of came out with it. And I was the same with the IPA, in that the more I drank it, the finish started to become a little bit more citrusy, and that was then the lasting flavour that I was getting. On the back end of that grapefruity bitterness, suddenly there's this nice sort of limey citrus in there as well. And looking back at the bottle, it does say that there is citrus notes along with that grapefruit as well. So it kind of unfolded just a little bit more as I sort of drank it. So that's kind of two beers that we drank that have unfolded as we've drank them. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see if this feels that little bit deeper once that carbonation has settled a little bit. Again, the previous beer, the Super 8 IPA, told me to drink it at 8 degrees. The Tongerlo doesn't give me any. Oh no, it does. It does say 8 degrees in there as well. There's a little glass just next to the.
I think I'm drinking it at a decent enough temperature. I just think it's like when I think I want a brown ale, I always, you associate it with this time of the year, like kind of autumnal, end of the night, by you're very bougie and posh, you got a fireplace. But it's like this. I just want. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a little bit of a lighter in texture, flavour kind of brown ale, but I want something a bit more earthy, a bit more bitter.
Right. I think from when you, Aadil, mentioned the different beers that they do in this line, there was a double as well.
Yeah, a triple.
So it'd be interesting to see the differences with those beers as well. Getting our hands on a couple of the higher percentage ones to see how that then stacks up through this. So, good.
I think didn't I have a brown ale a few weeks ago on the podcast or something? I'm sure I did.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think something a bit more deep and earthier. is probably what I wanted, especially after that blonde.
Aadil, you had a brown ale as well, didn't you? Which was just like full of coffee.
Yeah.
So again, we've got we didn't drink it, but we've got that in our mind as well. Like the most recent brown ale was just like chocked full of coffee and stuff. We started going, there's a little bit of chocolate in here. It's very vanilla.
Yeah, I want it to taste like I literally scooped up some dirt from the floor, some earth out of like a forest.
Maybe a little grass, just a little grass in there to start as well. Good. Let's move on to the Primus, the Lager.
Right, yeah. It is clear AF.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that. Look, I'm being rude, and you can tell. The head was a bit bigger than the blonde, but not nearly as heady as your brown was. But it hasn't. You can tell it's refilling because there's just more carbonation. So it's just. By this time, the Flandrien was had a gap. Right, there's basically no head that if it wasn't except against the glass.
Yeah, same with the Tongerlo. You can see that's the head's completely gone.
Yeah. Interesting. It's got a bit of a citrusy, slightly floral nose, little hoppy nose. It definitely smells like a lager, but again, there's like a bit more hops in it than you normally get off of a lager nose. So it's got that like crisp crispness you get as like standard lager smell, but it's just very light. And then you've got this slightly floral, a bit more hoppy nose, which is just like this is like a remarkably nuanced lager, even just on the nose. Oh wow!
I'm a banger.
Oh, I like the wow and just straight back in.
Just straight back for another sip. Yeah, I said wow. I went back for another sip. It's a 5.2% lager. It's definitely a lager. It's a bit thinner. It's thinner feet tasting than the Flandrien, but it's just you get that a bit nuttiness that comes with lagers. That's not there, which is one of the things that I find, like especially inexpensive lagers, kind of get that a little too hard, and then you're like, oh man, yes, cheap beer, right? This is a very light lager. It still has
that nuttiness, though.
I do too. It's still there. It's just the whole thing is much. It's kind of like I said with the Flandrien. It's like a more nuanced. It's not like. Things aren't punching you in the face, but they're still there and balanced. Here, I'm getting a little lighter even then. It finishes ever so slightly dry with a touch. But still kind of wet, so I'm actually finding it easier to drink. I think I'll drink this one slower than the Flandrien. But there is just a touch of a finish that's not your generic lager. Like there's just a bit of. Trying to figure out what kind of it's not quite, it's a very light like citrusy hop taste.
I guess just floral.
Yeah, the floral's there in the nose. It's less so in the taste.
Okay.
But yeah, it just dries you out just enough. In like the taste dry, but the actual mouthfeel is wet. That's what I've been struggling with. So it's like, oh yes, that dried taste, that feeling of that. I think that's this little bit of bitterness that's coming through at the finish is making me like, oh right, I'll need to take another sip. And then when that starts to fade, I'm like, oh actually my mouth isn't that dry. It's just that it's a bit of a pulling bitterness. It's really excellent. Yeah, there's a sweetness on that initial taste. Just like a light sweetness that helps bring those lager, the traditional lager tastes together. And again, everything is scaled back from your average beer, even though it is reasonably effervescent and it's still quite refreshing. And I think that's the reason I'll go if I go quicker. It'll be just to have that bit of that slightly sweet burst of flavor at the beginning, because it's quite the peak, and then it the main taste is much more subdued. It's if you could find a pub that served this lager all the time, you wouldn't just be defaulting to ales. It's just really nice, and at 5.2%, it's not too light, but still isn't boozy enough to like make it not taste like a lager.
Yeah, it's not a 4%. Like piss water, nothing. Yeah, it has a little bit to it as well.
Yeah, and I think that's helping give it that a bit pull. I think that extra alcohol is helping pull that like slight bitterness, hoppiness, giving it a little more depth near the finish.
Nice. Brilliant. Okay, good. Let's explore these beers. We'll drink them some more. We'll let you know at the end of the episode if they give us anything as we drink them. But we'll jump back into games. Lucy, I will come to you.
Okay.
To chat about whatever you're looking to chat about this week.
We can talk more at length about GeoGuessr, or we can talk about Metroid, which is...
Have you gone back to Metroid somewhat?
I'm probably going to before the end of the year, because finished it, a week and 2 days ago or something, and I haven't stopped thinking about it. It's so good. But we will talk about Metroid later.
Yeah.
But it's so good. I think what I'm waiting for as well with Metroid is I want to see like speedrunners do it, and like maybe not the GDQ coming up in January, but maybe summer. Because I want to see all the sequence breaking and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I'll probably go back to that before the end of the year. But I want to touch on Book of Travels.
Yes.
They're calling it a tiny MMORPG. It came out in early access. Was it last Monday? Was it?
It was last week. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Oh my god, where does the time go? Because I was like, it wasn't yesterday. So yeah, it must have been. So just over a week ago now. I haven't dipped back into it since everything went live, but I did dip into it before they opened the floodgates to the people, clamoring for it. I think it was Kickstarter backers, just anyone like early access codes
and press.
It's a beautiful game. It's like I think. I've never played an MMO because it's just like not my kind of style of game, not my kind of genre. This is like even marketing itself as a different kind of those. And I think that's why it's like they called it a TMMO RPG, tiny one. I think it's just tiny based on like the server size, because going into that world. Seems very big. It looks like, as I said, this is early access and not going to have everything done, not by a long shot. But it looks like, I wanted to get in, try out that game and see what it was all about, because I like Might and Delight. They've done very chill, low impact. Well, I guess some of the shells again is quite stressful because you're looking after your baby cubs and baby animals, but. But very approachable, kind of sometimes serene, sometimes emotionally impactful games, and it's like, okay, they're making an MMO, which is completely different to their other games prior to that point, for the most part. So I just thought, oh, okay, this is going to be very beautiful. Just look at some screenshots. That's all I was doing in the game, just hammering like F12. I think there's also a screenshot like button in the game, like that's one of the things on the in the UI, so they know it's a beautiful looking game. But I wanted to get into it just because I think they're focusing on that very much. This is a serene kind of exploration game, and at the moment I think it it might have, for the people who are playing in early access and who want to play in early access up until like 1.0, I think it might have like the scope and for people to be like, oh, I just want to explore this world. Maybe the the role playing and the RPG elements and the combat, maybe those aren't there at the moment, because like when I was creating a character, you had certain like traits and buffs and stuff like that, and it's like, they had like placeholder text, or we will figure out what this does in the future when we actually finish developing this game. So I don't know if you're going into it looking for like a heavy combat system or a really deep RPG mechanics. I don't think that's there. I don't know if it will be there in a year, 2 years time. That remains to be seen. But I think if you want to go in there and just discover a beautiful world and explore a beautiful world, I think that might be there already for you. Yeah. Obviously, they will add to that. Because as I said, like, I just want to go in and look for truffles. I saw this woman looking for truffles with a pig, and it's like, I want to roleplay this in. I want to be this woman foraging for truffles. I want my own pig. I want my own truffle market, and they've got a bartering system in there, so which seems really cool. It's like, okay, I will give you 10 truffles if you give me this shard of jade, this hemp, this all these other things. So it's like there's something there. There's even this early on. I mean, they did push it back a few weeks. They kept pushing it back in months, and from the early access launch, and they have pushed it back. But I think it looks promising. I think the people getting into the game who have played MMOs before and know what it takes to be a good MMO and like have those RPG mechanics and elements. I mean, their kind of feedback will be invaluable, and those are the people they should be listening to, not someone who's just crazy and wants to be a truffle seller.
Well, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because it depends on what like direction they're trying to go. Because I can't imagine that they're trying to go up against Final Fantasy XIV or all of these other bigger combat-heavy MMOs, which have lots of other stuff you can kind of do in. This feels, at least from like the stuff I've seen, to lean into the other stuff.
Yeah. And
then it is that exploration. It is just experiencing the world. It is going out and doing stuff. And then everything else kind of just comes from that exploration. So if you do get into combat and things, it has those systems there, but that's come from you being kind of almost in the wrong place at the wrong time. You've gone, I want to investigate this. Yeah, I've gone to investigate this thing. What's this over here? Oh shit! I'm now massively out of my depth.
That's exactly what happened after I mean, you choose your character, your traits, and stuff like that. I just did anything because it's like, by the time I play this in 1.0, I'm probably going to re-roll my character anyway. But just went in there, and it's like, your first mission is to go to the tea house, and so started going to the tea house. I was just like, oh, what's over there? Here are some bandits. It turns out, okay, I have no weapons. I just got slaughtered immediately. I didn't even see like what combat mechanics is, because usually in a game it's like, okay, you reach your first combat encounter, time slows down, and it's like it starts tutorializing things. This, I just got absolutely done, slaughtered, I'm
Amazing.
Dead. And then I was a ghost, so I couldn't talk to the truffle lady, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, there's ghosts in it.
That's cool.
That's pretty great.
I didn't understand anything that was going on, so maybe I'm just an idiot, or the onboarding could be a bit better. But they did literally tell me, go to the tea house. I mean, don't go around and fast and, go to these bandits and start a fight.
Like, hey fellas, what's going on? Yeah. I'm meant to be getting some tea, but it looks interesting over here.
Yeah. So maybe I'm the idiot, but who knows? So yeah, maybe the onboard that will all come in, development time, and as I say, like they'll be getting a lot of that. They're not getting the Final Fantasy people. They're getting the people who like the Shelter games, so want something a bit more slower paced, bit more explorative, and that whatever feedback those people, not the the RPG nuts and nerds, what the layman, whatever they give as as feedback will be as valuable to them. So I'm happy to check in with it like every couple of weeks, every couple of months, just to explore that world. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's their best looking game to date, and like their Shelter games were just very pretty, like patchwork quilt looking worlds, and this is just it looks like a watercolor painting, and it's just beautiful. Like and your character's so small on the screen, it just absolutely gives that scope and depth to the world. And when I looked at the map in it, it was just like, okay, this is huge. This is very big.
Yeah, it's not tiny MMO in terms of the playable space. It's tiny MMO in terms of the amount of people you will, the other players that you will encounter.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I say, it looks like if all of that world is explorable. Obviously, I didn't get far enough because your character does move slowly, and when they run through the world, they do consume energy and stuff like that. So I don't know if all of that is filled in, but it'll take people a long time to figure out if it is. So I think there's enough content there now. If you do want to get in on the early access and you like playing games in early access and seeing that kind of how they make the final product and want to be there with them on that journey, I think there's something there. So and I'm part of the Discord, and I'm gonna check the reviews, early access reviews, just see what people are saying and stuff like that. So hopefully it gets it's a community that builds over time, and I'm really interested to see where this goes. And yeah, I would do this if the devs weren't that busy, but I would just ask, can I become the truffle lady? As well, just sell truffles. Can I do this? I'm waiting for the guide on like Polygon or something. It's like how to become the truffle lady of Book of Travels.
Message Lauren and be like, right, you're a PC gamer. You're all about guides these days. Come on, we need a Book of Travels guide about just being a travel lady.
So yeah, Book of Travels. I'll update you lot in the future.
It does sound incredibly interesting. Like so slow paced. From what you're saying, it's not Aadil, you and I, we really enjoyed Final Fantasy 14 and getting into it, and that's you're trying to churn through, you're trying to get through those quests, you're trying to go through those combat encounters. You want that kind of progression. This sounds like it's just like, just don't worry about it, just chill. It's just life. Just live within this space, and do things kind of as and when you feel like it. We have NPCs or various systems in place to facilitate certain things, but just come and explore and hang out and chat to one of 20 people on this server that you might encounter.
I think it's is it like 8 per server? It's very small number. Yeah, it's very small. I don't know how that's going to work, because there were things where it's like, oh, I saw this locked lockbox on like the beach or something like that. And it's just like, oh, I need at least 2 hands to open it, so I needed another person. It's like, but at the same time, it didn't feel like I was missing anything by like not having that other person with me. It feels like a bonus if you have some other people there, or you just have this one other person there playing with you. So we'll see how the community kind of thing goes with that, and if people find that it's easy to get in groups and parties and stuff like that, and traverse throughout the worlds. If like different part of the world you need those other people because like enemies are high level and stuff like that. So we'll see we'll see. But I'll probably just be in that starting area selling my truffles.
It would be really interesting to get into the technical side of this. You know, it's not just a server which can accommodate 10,000 players. It is an instance almost that you are just being like, right, you're trying to log in. We have a server or we have an instance which has 5 of 8 people. So you go into this one, you know, and it kind of just puts people in the same space based on, you know, whenever you jump into the game or something like that. But again, it'd be interesting to see that if all 3 of us jumped in, how we can all be in the same space. Is there a system for us to all be in the same space, or is it literally just this is kind of a single player game to explore the world that you come against? That there are other people occasionally.
I'll have to dig into that. But yeah, if we all jumped in, you two could be my truffle pigs.
Amazing.
I'm looking for some other, you know, menial job, so it's fine. I'll be a truffle pig and just wander the fields and forests, snuffling away.
You'll love it. The other game that I played, I think I might have played this before Metro Jet. Perhaps. What did I play after? I think I played it before Metro Jet. Anyway, it's called A Juggler's Tale. Juggler's Tale. Tale, T-A-L-E. It is a side-scrolling puzzle platformer. It's from a dev, I think they're called Kaleidoscube. Kaleidoscube. I think it might be their first title. Correct me on that if anyone knows. But anyway, it's a... Yeah, as I say, it's a side-scrolling puzzle platformer. You're playing as a girl called Abby, except she's not a real girl. She's a puppet. She's a marionette, and it's got this very whimsical vibe to it, where it's got this narrator, and it's basically, you know, acting out a puppet show. It's not quite a shadow puppet show. It's like actually, it's a very pretty game. Actually, it's very colourful, and it's got like this kind of, you know, pop-up children's storybook look to it, but I think it looks really nice. The screenshots look okay, but I think like just playing it, I played it on Xbox. Those colours really pop. I wonder if that's HDR. That would be really good. Anyway, it's a very rudimentary side scroller. In that it's not the puzzles. It's not a Twitch-based platform or anything like that. It's very much the puzzles. Very simple, like puzzles. You know, I didn't need a walkthrough or anything like that. So you know, it's very breezy in that sense. But I think they do some interesting things with the mechanic. Where, I mean, she is a marionette puppet, and it's like she's got strings. She's got literal strings, which I couldn't imagine how hard that is to animate, to be honest, like individual strings and, you know, collision and all that stuff. But they make some interesting puzzles out of it. It's like, because she's on these strings, it's like, oh, she can't go past this tree because her strings get in the way. So it's like the puzzle is solving out how to get rid of the branches so she can continue along. And it plays with that kind of like, I guess that some version of like, you know, platformers. It's like usually I can just go in that direction, but it's like no, her strings are actually you know, an obstacle for her, and it can be like not just an obstacle, but like they can help you do things and stuff like that. And it's quite short. I think I finished it in about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, something like that. But yeah, I think it's a really, you know, it's a decent one of those. It's I thought it was colourful. I liked the look of it, the character animations, the art, and as I say, the puzzles are not going to stretch you mentally or anything like that. But there's so many like side-scrolling platformers, and some of them are frankly very bad. This one is very simple, but it does everything that it sets out to do very well. It's like, it's beautiful, the music's great, there's a narrator, and it's like, it plays very much on that, like, kind of, you know, I don't want to spoil it though, but that kind of untrustworthy narrator kind of.
Mm-hmm. Geppetto.
Yeah.
Prick.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's good. It's good. I enjoyed it. It's like, I think I played it in mostly one sitting, I think.
Okay.
And it's like, I think there may still be a demo out there.
What did you play it on?
I played it on Xbox. There was a demo on Xbox. Can't see one on Steam. But that's how I knew about it. Playing the demo. I don't know if it's still there, but yeah, it's. I think it's worth checking out if you, as I say, if you like puzzle platformers. This is a very good one. Just bear in mind it's quite short, and the puzzles are not. They're not groundbreaking. As I say, they do some interesting things with the mechanics, being on strings, but it's nothing that, you know, it's not quite, it's not Inside, let's say. So it's just
sure.
Like, I mean, nothing much else is. That's an unfair comparison, but as I say, it's a very confident kind of side scroller. It isn't, as I say, these things are dime a dozen, but this one is a good one of those, and it's not just like a cheap imitation of Limbo or anything like that. It does its own things, and it does them very well to a good degree. So yeah,
nice. Cool.
Yeah, that's it for me this week.
Potentially play a demo if you can first, to see if you can jive with it, and then
I think like if you've played a side-scrolling puzzle game, you probably know what you're getting into. The controls don't need to be twitchy. It's not a Twitch-based platformer. It's very much a puzzle one. But yeah, I think it's really colourful and really, really delightful. I think, you know, a younger gamer would very much enjoy them. So.
Good. Okay. Perfect. Amazing. Aadil, we'll move on to you this week. There's not a huge amount of time left. I think I can. You're muted, but I think I can guess what game you're going to discuss this week.
What would you guess?
Gloomhaven.
Oh man, you read my mind. / saw the stream earlier.
Yes. So if
you played it earlier.
Yes, we. As I say, we haven't got a huge amount of time, so I'd love to hear your kind of thoughts on your time with it. But if people want to get an in-depth look at how the game plays in this, they can find that video currently on Twitch. To see,
it'll be up on the YouTube soon.
You played a few hours of it as well, didn't you? It's you jumped into it for a little while.
Yeah. So I'll just read the blurb on Steam. Whether you're drawn to Gloomhaven by the call of adventure or by an avid desire for gold glimmering in the dark, your fate will surely be the same. Gloomhaven is the digital adaptation of the acclaimed board game, and it mixes tactical RPG and dungeon crawling. And basically, it's a tactical RPG. There's a lot going on. I spent probably the first half hour or 40 minutes doing tutorials and still managing to miss several things in the next hour or two. I streamed for about 3 hours.
Yeah.
And the we had some people who are Gloomhaven professionals who really loved the board game in the chat, and they were really helpful. And I can only imagine playing this as a board game, because there's so many dependencies and things you could easily miss. And so, like, they were saying that one of them was saying that they've been playing with a group of playing this game for 2 years as a board game with a group of people, and last week realized that they had been fucking up a pretty major rule. So they've been playing it wrong for 2 years. But I really liked it. I found it quite challenging. So it's basically, it's a tactical RPG where you take mercenaries and do quests, and so there's a campaign, and it seems like it's quite good. It's all voice acted by a similar, like basically like a narrator. It's like a guy with a Scots accent reading all the things. Which I like. I like having good voice acting and not not having to pay. I get like paying someone for every small voice is a lot, and I'd rather have a bunch of characters in your story and having one person as the narrator read them all than trying to get good voices but then the bad voices for the small characters. It's less jarring. It also makes it more mood, like there's more of a mood. Anyway, so you basically have a deck of cards that are your moves, and you can give items to your character or whatever. And so I was playing, you start with 2 characters and you go in and you've got, go find this person in a dungeon, kill everyone in the dungeon, and when they drop loot, you have to end a turn on a space that has loot in order to get it, which is important because you don't just get to kill things and get the gold that comes out of them. And also, whoever picks it up keeps it because they're mercenaries. So I ended my first mission, which was real tough, by the way, on easy mode, no less, where my tanking character, because he was always trying to get in the way, didn't have time to go pick up stuff, so he had 0 gold, and then the other character had 12. I was like, oh, cool. I kind of wanted to buy a healing potion for my tank, because once an encounter, you can use it and get 3 health. Oh, but I can't, because I can't just use the 10 of the gold I have. Ah, shit. Anyway, so the basic premise is you have a deck of cards, and you have all of them at your disposal, and they each have basically a top half and a bottom half, and a number on them. And you pick 2, and depending on the order, the number tells you what your initiative is, so where in the turn order of all the characters, including monsters, you'll go. So if you wanted to do things late, you could purposely pick the card that had the bigger number and put that as your initiative, and then pick 2. You basically submit all your pairings, your 2 cards for each of your characters, and then the monsters do the same, and then you find out the initiative order, and then you just play them. And if you play the top half of one card, you have to play the bottom half of the other.
Right, okay. I didn't pick that up in
That's like most of the strategy of picking cards is trying to figure out what you want to do and what you're limited on as to what's available in your deck. Because in some cards, they have strong abilities, but if you use that ability, it burns the card, which means it goes into the burn pile and not the discard pile. And then I'm going to say all this technical stuff because then I'll explain how the loop goes. And then you could take a short rest at any instead of you choose to take a short rest, and that basically it'll take a card from your discard pile at random and burn it, so remove it for the rest of the encounter, and then give you all your discarded cards back. Or you can take a long rest, which gives you last in the initiative order, and you heal 2, but you can pick the card that you burn. While the short rest, it burns a random card, and you can take it. You can redraw it if it's a card you really wanted at the cost of 1 health, and then still have your turn afterwards. But burn cards, like I said, don't come back. So then really strong abilities, if you use too many in the beginning, then you only have 4 or 5 cards to pick before you then have to rest. So the actual loop of an encounter is trying to figure out when it's best to burn a card, whether that's using a rest or using a really strong ability because that has a little burn icon, because then that whole card gets taken out of the loop, and now you're 1 card down for every loop. And if you can't pick 2 cards, you will get exhausted and you're removed from the encounter. If both of your dudes do that, you lose. And so trying to figure all this out in a pretty in a reasonably difficult dungeon was quite interesting. Luckily, we had people in the chat who were like, "Oh, don't forget this," because any card can be used instead of using its ability for a generic attack 2 or move 2, depending. So if you're using the top of the card, you can, instead of using its ability, just use the card as a generic melee attack for 2, or if you're using the bottom half of the card, a move for 2. And so I kept forgetting that and being like, I don't have any moves. What I'm going to do? It's like, all right, you can always use a card to move your guy around. But there's just a lot of mechanics, a lot to balance. And to be honest, I think it just takes a while to figure out that like it's really hard to figure out. Like one time I was like, oh, this is a minor gain, I'll do this thing, forgetting that it burnt the card, and then because I had 3 cards left, it meant it took an entire loop of discard draw away, like resting away from me, and it wasn't really worth it, and I just didn't think about it, and it was just really challenging, really interesting. It looks like the lore is quite good, so like it's not just surface dressing story. And like one of the guys in chat was just saying, hey, yeah, like this first encounter is really tough. It took our team like 4 tries to get through it, and so I put it on easy because I was streaming, and it's still like I lost my tank and was literally, if I didn't get a +1 bonus on my last attack, I wouldn't have killed the guy, and then I would have I wouldn't have had any cards to rest for, and I would have lost the encounter. That's how. So this first encounter, which normally you think, oh yeah, you leave the city in an RPG and you go to a thing and you just like you maybe have some trouble, you breeze through. That's how these games are designed. And this thing was like, nope, you're on easy mode, but also probably will lose. So it's quite difficult. And I'm glad they warned me in the chat, because I almost quit, and I'm glad I didn't, because I got through the encounter, and that felt really good. But it also made me really cognizant of like how much you can screw yourself by, even early in the game, being like, I can just burn a card and I can kill this guy right away. Oh right, but that means forevermore I'm 1 card less per rest cycle, and like these are long encounters, and I'm gonna like go to turn 21. And I have 10 cards. So if I burn 2 cards in the first couple turns, I'm not going to make it to turn 21, because I'm going to already be at 8 cards left, and that's just not enough loops, because it's 2 cards per turn. Anyway, I don't want to bore you with the technical details. I think it's really, really interesting. It makes me want to see what. I actually would love to see a YouTube video of people playing the card version, because I can't imagine trying to also control the enemies and like the order and initiative and tracking all that, because that's all got to be manual. And like even every time you attack, you've got a deck of cards which are your hit attack modifiers, and so you'll have like a +0, a +1, a -1, a +2, a ×2, and a ×0. But it's a deck, it's not a die. So if you did, so you can kind of already know what's been used. So you can't get like ×0 or ×2 on if you attack twice in a turn, for example, because you've used that card. But then there's things like ranged. If you are right beside a ranged attacker, or someone who does a ranged attack, they get disadvantage, so they'll draw 2 and take the worst card. And depending on, and you can actually just hover over them and see what their like cards, or what their deck of bonuses are, and as soon as you input the moves you want, the cards you want, you then get the initiative order, and you see what all the cards people picked, what the enemies picked. So I didn't play really with foresight. I was just concentrating on figuring out my stuff. But I'm guessing like, if you go further on, like I almost never used shield moves and stuff, because I was just like panicking, trying to do as much damage as possible. And I suspect that like when you're a little less panicked, you can be like, this guy's going to attack and this guy's going to attack, so actually it's not worth me hitting one of them and then getting hit for 3. I'll just shield up. And versus, this guy's going to put his shield up. I'm going to hit him with this character before he goes, because then I'll hit him before the shield goes up, and like stuff like that. I just like, there was just so much. It was very complicated.
It seems incredibly deep.
Yeah.
I saw a quick review on Steam saying the only game that you'll need a guide for the tutorial.
Yeah, I mean it's good. It's definitely not. So I've been playing a lot of card-based games this year. This is not, and I think that like lulled me to a sense of strategy with card games is good. I like it, but like a lot of these are medium level or they scale really well, and this is like, nope, you are playing this game.
You're in it now.
Like I can't remember the last time I played a game that wasn't super twitchy on easy on like level 1 or like first sort of stage, and just almost got completely trounced. And some of that was learning curve, but also it just was difficult. Like it was just hard. Like like some of the enemies, like the skeleton enemies, if they've got nothing better to do, they'll throw a shield up. They have 5 health, but also one of their moves is heal for 2. And so you're like, cool. That means I have to bank on them healing for 2. So it's kind of like, there's 5 enemies on here. I kind of just want to not deal with these skeletons, because if I hit them, but can't kill them, they just heal up. And sure, it means they won't swipe at me, but is that really worth my attack cards? Yeah. Just like staving them off by making them stop and heal. It was just like, I can see how healing is it feels like a bigger burden than in other games I've played, where it's like, they healed, but it's okay, I'll just slice right through.
It seemed, because I had to duck out of watching for a couple of work calls, but from that first encounter, it seemed like just a constant balance of, right, I need to move, I need to attack, I need to position my characters, I then need to react to what these other mobs are doing. The first room almost lulled you into a full sense of security, because the first 3 enemies were pretty easy. And then you moved into the next room, and there was a little bit more strategy to it. There were some traps on the ground, so some spaces that you couldn't move into. And it seemed to progress you in a reasonable way in that. Kind of, here is an encounter, and it's kind of easy, but then you move into the next room, and we've just ramped it up a bit. And now you're in the 3rd room, and we've gone, boo.
Oh, yeah. It was much harder. But I'm curious. It's definitely not a game I would like casually put on at the end of a long day, I think is the thing. I kind of also, it's a shame there isn't a multiplayer as far as I know, because I can see how playing this tabletop where you are, like, I'm a mercenary and you're a mercenary.
Yeah.
We could have some strategic talk across, which would be interesting. But yeah, I definitely will play more of this game. One of the reasons why I wanted to stream this week is because it's been early access since July 2019. So they've been doing I think now the better norm of early access, which is like grinding it out with the community, figuring things out, ironing out bugs. But the full release is tomorrow. So by the time this hits YouTube and podcasts, like, it's out. And I'm super curious. So like, there'll be a new build. I obviously was playing one of the press builds, but I assume not. It can't be that much. But I'm curious what the patch notes are. Again, one of the crazy things is, like, I played for 3 hours and I got through a tutorial and the first encounter, and then I played a lot of the second encounter and died on the very last enemy. Yeah, I couldn't pull off the same trick twice. Also it was like, I was not an entertaining streamer, because like that last like half hour, I was like, it's just like so intense, like, this is going poorly. I can just see it's going poorly, and I'm like just staring at the screen, mumbling to myself, like, all right, there's people. Sorry, people. I did that. Like, I usually talk through. I'm picking this card. I'm picking this because of that. Even like, it ramped up so quickly. Like, even when there were like people in the chat were chatting with each other, but I was just already being like, click, 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 click. Yeah, I think. Ooh, no, I messed that up. But it was all reactionary talk. I wasn't really like I wasn't talking out my strategy. It was just like click, click, because it got me. Like, the intensity of the strategy and like that ramping up really did make me want to play more of it, even though I'm kind of afraid of it.
Yeah. It's basically Magic the Gathering if it had BDSM.
No, Magic's easy.
I think Magic's got BDSM in it, hasn't it? I'm pretty sure that's probably a part of it.
No, It has allusions to BDSM because it's ages 13 and up.
Yes. It'd be interesting to see if in a couple of weeks' time you've gone back and started over again. What that difference might be between that early build and then 1.0 or whatever it is in a couple of weeks' time, to see whether that ramping up has lessened slightly, to bring more people in, because I would imagine that early access caters very much towards people who play the board game, people who are interested in this already, like, wow, they're making a computer game out of this, perfect, let's go and play this, rather than the casual player, and then suddenly it's full release, it's on Steam, it's on the front page or whatever they get for that, and they start bringing other people into it. So it'd be interesting to see how that first bit kind of ramps up, and how difficult that is. So yeah, be cool to see what your thoughts are in a couple of weeks' time. If it's a case that you've played another 3 hours and gone, no, it's exactly the same. It did all the things that it did, or you've gone, I've just chucked 10, 15 hours into this, because it onboarded a little bit easier, it ramped up a little bit better, and suddenly I can just feel that stepping up during that progression just a little bit better. Because from some of the chat, it sounded like people had put 80 hours into the early access build, and had put and I've spent days and days and days playing with friends on the board game version as well, and I can imagine it's one of those games that you can get through, and it is an 80-hour game. It's one of those big RPGs, but also it's a game that you could put 300 hours into. It's a game that you come back to all year and just keep playing and keep going and grinding it out and doing different things, doing different combinations of characters and all of those sorts of things. So yeah, super interested in how this goes. I'll never play it because I just don't have the capacity or the time for something like that these days.
I mean, just reading through the reviews, it does seem like most of the people playing are the people who played the board game, and they love it, but one or two things from people who haven't played it.
Okay.
And they seem to be getting on with it as well.
Good.
So I think it's like, if you like rich RPGs.
Yeah. I mean, I will say that I spent the first half hour, 35 minutes of the stream going through the first 5 stages of the tutorial. There's 11, and one of them, but these are tutorial stages where it's and you lose.
Right.
Now figure out how to not lose. Because the tooltips and onboarding in the tutorial, it's one of those things where it's you are learning how to play the game, and we expect you to not win. How some, especially in SRPGs, there'll be there's one correct path of set of actions you have to do in the right order to pass the tutorial level. But because there's so many things, and the one thing they take out in the tutorials is the attack modifier deck, so all the attacks just hit the way they say on the cards, rather than potentially hitting for stronger or weaker or nothing or double or whatever, right? But it's not handhold like this. They want you to figure it out with your brain. They're not going to say, hey, even the one where it's there are 2 traps. You're going to need to jump. It wasn't. It just said you now have you have a move that it says move 3 and jump, and so I thought it meant move 3 and jump, and so I moved 2, and it said skip movement, and then it's okay, do you want to attack? I was no, I messed it up. And also there a lot of the tutorial was you need to beat this enemy in 1 turn, which is which is not the way the game works, but I think it's very smart because it teaches you about how the cards discard and you have to do a thing to get them back. So by having the tutorial being your card, you get 1 shot at this, it's putting you in the mindset of do as much as possible at all times.
Yep.
So I did the first 5 levels of the tutorial, and like I got into the swing of things. Then I started the campaign.
Okay.
And the campaign, they've said most stuff should just copy over. There might be some save game problems on the odd person, where you can copy files to move it over if you want to keep your progress.
Okay.
Other than that, it's the same. It's similar enough. It should just work on tomorrow's version.
Good. Nice.
But yeah. So I know I will play more of it, but I don't know how much, because I don't know how often I'll like want to be in that mental space.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Completely.
I know the feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. Let's finish there then for this week. Get out of our own mental space of drinking and games and talk about the beers that we have drank this evening, just as a little roundup from the evening. I'm going to jump straight in because I think I have a clear beer this week, and it's the Super 8 IPA. I really liked it, even with it being a slightly more malt forward, more trad kind of IPA. I think the Belgian brown could have done a little bit more. So it's easy as an IPA. Gave me enough that I would very easily go in somewhere and be like, yeah, I will absolutely drink that if I saw it in on tap somewhere. So that's it for me this week. Lucy, as you drank the brown as well, but also the Flandrien.
Yeah.
Do you have a pick?
Yeah, I will say that the brown ale grew on me over time. To be honest, as you say, like wish that brown ale did just a little bit more. Was a bit more deep and for me a bit earthier, but it still felt like I sipped on it slowly after all that carbonation went, and it still felt like I had a proper beer, but not heavy enough where it's like, maybe couldn't have another one or anything, but could be easily just, satiated and, complete with just that one as well. It had enough like darkness, and I think like the chocolatiness and the vanilla did enough to make that could be the last beer that you have for the night as well. So yeah, it did grow on me. But yeah, I think immediately the blonde ale was just wow. It was just very good. It's everything you want from a blonde ale, and it was crisp. It was had a nice bit of maltiness, a nice bit of sweetness, bit of spice, and all things nice. And it was just really. It was sad that we don't get enough, of that style over here.
Yeah.
From craft breweries or otherwise. So, yeah, I will. If I was to seek out another one, it would definitely be that one. I'd buy 5 bottles of the blonde and maybe 1 or 2 of the brown. So,
okay. Yeah, that's fair. Fair.
Yeah.
Nice. Aadil, how do you feel about the 2 beers?
So I really like the Flandrien as well. I thought it just had enough nuance, and it's also been a minute since I've had a blonde, and it did all the things I wanted. It like 2 steps below where I thought I would want them, but in a way that made me really appreciate it. Again, it's that nuance and that balance was really excellent. But that's also why I like the Primus, which is like one of the best lagers I've had in I don't know how long. Like if I could get one of those lagers, I guess. Well, here's the thing: is I'm not often in the mood strictly for a lager, and where the Primus excels is not being a strict lager. So actually, I wouldn't reach for it if I was in the mood for a lager. Like I want something really fizzy and summery. But it's the lager I would want most of the time, if that makes sense, just because I don't often find myself in that mood. So it's a bit of a contradiction in some ways. But I think I'm going to go with the Flandrien because I just think it's a well-balanced blonde. It has a little more going for it. It has just enough percentage to sort of buff out those subtle nuanced tastes, stitch them together a bit. Yeah, like if I just the slight vanilla, the bit in the nose, the coriander, it just like there's stuff you could easily miss, but because everything else is again a step down, you don't.
Yeah,
that's my pick.
Fair, good, okay, nice.
And I'm glad I live in Birmingham because I can have the others as well.
You didn't share your box between because being in a Bristol lot. Yeah, absolutely. Nice to be able to experience kind of all four. As well.
I'm looking forward to the other two.
Yeah, and thank you very much to Haacht and their PR for reaching out and sending us over those beers, and also thank you to the PR and publishers of all of the games that we talked about this evening, which we have had codes for. If you want to talk to us about beer or video games, you can get us at Tanks Upcast over on Twitter or occasionally on Instagram. We see it if you chat to us or follow us or do whatever on there, but we don't go on it very much. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. You can get me at Nova_47 and play games of Lemnis Gate with me if you like. Lucy is...
And Juicy leaves 9, and I'm going to jump in Lemnis Gate just so Ben can rank up. I won't leave the match. I'll just leave it idle.
Just sit there and do some work while I just... completely. Aadil is...
At the Omniarch.
And you can get all of us over on outoflives.net. You can see our beautiful faces there or on our YouTube page, or join us if you don't on Twitch each and every week as we stream the episodes live, and you can see our beers and chat to us as we are drinking them. Otherwise, drop us a follow, subscribe, like, share, all of that sort of stuff on whatever platform you are listening or watching us on. Thank you for joining us this evening. We will see you next week. We've been Tanked Up. Goodbye.
See you later.
Bye.
www.outoflives.net